Mr. Prada, founder of Diplomacy 360, senior officials and parliamentarians, and ambassadors, and friends, and distinguished speakers and guests. Este o mare onoare să mă aflu din nou aici, alături de dumneavoastră, la conferința de Geopolitics and Diplomacy of Emerging Disruptive Technologies. Actually, it is good to speak first because I can say whatever I want to say. I will present my own perspectives together with the policies and initiatives that the Republic of Korea is pursuing amid the breakneck race of technological innovation and the changing global security landscape. I will start from a short analysis on the current complex geopolitics, how it came into being, and what are its main characteristics and differences from traditional security issues. Before presenting my view, I would like to ask a simple question to all of you. Among the nuclear-tipped missile, COVID virus, Comstar virus, which one is more dangerous nowadays? A missile carrying nuclear warhead. We call it WMD, weapons of mass destruction. Disease, virus, and cyber attack, and hacking, and attack, and cyber attack, we call it again WMD, but different notion, meaning that it means weapons of mass disruption. At first glance, to me, it's a little bit paradoxical to have to deal with emerging disruptive technologies together with geopolitics, as emerging technologies denote something which will happen in the near future, whereas geopolitics is regarded as the thing of the past. In short, nowadays the geopolitical competition among states is expanding to technology. Who gets its hands first on emerging technology will determine who is winning and who is losing. Looking back, the hyper-globalizations of the 1990s and 2000s was hailed as marking a new era of seamless integration and the unending co-prosperity of the world community. Russia and China were invited to join WTO in 2001 and 2012 respectively. At the time, the world, free from hungers, conflicts, borders, seemed within our reach. We thought that the era of geopolitics or power politics, realpolitik, was over. This upbeat expectation was tattered first by the COVID-19 pandemic, and later completely vanished from the scene by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Traditional geoeconomics and traditional geopolitics were brought back from their graves. The COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the US-China strategic rivalry have contributed to putting security before economics, as we all know. Security-first economic statecraft has eclipsed the upbeat expectation of globalization-led stability and peace of 1990s and 2000s. A scramble to acquire cutting-edge technology is unfolding along the current geopolitical borderlines. While geopolitical competition of the past centuries aimed to acquire more lands and seas, today's geopolitical competition is intensifying to secure the advanced foundational technologies. Arms race among the great powers, dormant for a while during the 1990s and 2000s, begins to expand its reach into outer space, into technology areas. I can't imagine what will happen to humanity when traditional WMD is combined with another new emerging WMD. Weapons of mass disruption. In addition, we are facing the re-emergence of great power rivalry in a highly connected world. I would like to call it very complex geopolitics. For example, during the Cold War, the highest trade volume between the US and Soviets at the time recorded a quarterly 4.5 billion in the 1979. In 2022, the trade volume between US and China recorded $690 billion, that is $13 billion per week. Apple's iPhone is assembled by putting over 200 parts purchased from over 10 countries. In this connected world, the economic and technological competition have become the main battlefield among states. Then, what are those differences between this new complex geopolitics and the older version of geopolitics? First, today's geopolitics is even more complicated as security, economy, and technology are thoroughly intertwined. The dual-use nature of technology has brought economy and security closer together. On top of this, geopolitical competitiveness has been at play as well. Nowadays, Minister of Commerce or Minister of Industry sits together with Minister of Defense, Minister of Foreign Affairs to discuss security issues. Cold War created the National Security Council in many countries, including also my country. And we are expecting the creation of National Economic Security Council or Technology Competitive Council. Against this backdrop, export controls and industrial policies have re-emerged as one of critical foreign policy tools. The states lean on economic restrictions and industrial policies to achieve geopolitical goals. Companies have increasingly become both the objects and instruments of foreign policy. Just take a look at the giant chip makers like the Samsung, TSMC, and Intel, and where they are newly investing and from where they are divesting. It becomes the national security issue. Second, the geopolitics of the 21st century is closer to tech politics. Securing competitiveness in AI and the semiconductor, electric batteries, and space technology. Quantum computers have emerged as a new security guarantor. It is no exaggeration to say that now is an era in which alliances are rather formed among countries that possess technology, equipment, materials, and patents than formed based on geographical location. Competition is getting even fiercer as well in establishing technical standards. He who owns a standard rules the market, rules the world. For example, China announced a standard 2035, for which China has been putting a lot of efforts to lead the standard setting in 6th generation mobile communications. Third, weaponization of interdependence is also on play nowadays. The Western countries, including Korea and Japan also, we have sharpened export controls and financial sanctions, whereas the others have strengthened their own export controls of rare earth minerals, such as germanium and gallium, which constitutes indispensable parts of making semiconductors and electric vehicles. To avoid hostages of this interdependence, the United States and the European Union are implementing de-risking policy, and China is pursuing self-reliance industrial policy. For example, the Inflation Reduction Act, IRA, or CHIPS Act, and the EU's equivalent act on critical raw material, which came into force yesterday, and China's industrial policy of Made in China 2025 are some good examples. Fourth, resilience is gaining much more important meaning. Once disruptions occur, swinging back into normal status in short span of time becomes much more critical. Simple defense is not enough, and prevention, adjustment, and resilience are the very keys for the states and societies to keep working after the disruption. Fifth, traditional military alliance is giving way to alliance of values. as emerging disruptive technologies destroy not only physical infrastructure, but also severely undermine democracy, market economy, and rule-based international order, military alliance is now evolving into alliance of values. Alliance of values is the key words that my president has put forward in his addresses, including at the NATO summit last year and the UN General Assembly last year. And nowadays, our alliance with the United States is evolving into alliance of values in all areas. Against this backdrop, a coalition of partners or minilateralism is prevailing over global multilateralism, which was so far underpinned by international organizations such as the United Nations and the World Trade Organizations. Dear guests, traditionally, ICBM stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles, but nowadays ICBM stands for IoT, cloud, big data, and mobile. I assume that many of you watched the blockbuster movie Die Hard, Part 4, starring the Bruce Willis. At the film, cyber attacks could cripple electric grid, bring down airplanes, manipulating traffic signals to have critical injuries. The movie was actually filmed in 2007, 17 years ago. During the past decade, we have achieved a dramatic innovation in science and technology, dubbed as the fourth industrial revolution. But notable downsides of these technologies that it poses significant security threats as well, if intentionally misused and abused, and it could easily turn into weapons. New technologies such as the AI, mobile communications, quantum computing, and space technologies are evolving into more sophisticated forms with high probability of linkage with cyber and hybrid warfare. Cyber attacks such as ransom attacks targeting public and private institutions and critical infrastructure is increasing. Cyberspace is being abused to manipulate information and spread misinformation, amplifying social unrest and threatening democracy. I'll give you one very good example, which is very pertinent to our deliberation today. The North Korea's cyber threats. Last year, 2023, North Korea's cyber attacks against Seoul recorded in average 1.2 million cases a day. 1.2 million cases a day. And the North Korean dictator said that cyber warfare is one of the all-purpose tools of attack, together with nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. Pyongyang, beyond stealing confidential information and attacking critical infrastructure, is illicitly appropriating cryptocurrency by combining new technologies such as centralized exchange hacking, decentralized finance protocols, and ransomware attacks. According to the recent report by the UN Security Council Committee on the North Korean sanctions, the report said that the volume of illicit cryptocurrency transactions worldwide in 2022 reached an all-time high of $20.6 billion, of which North Korea accounted for $1.7 billion. In plain words, North Korea stole $1.7 billion using cyber attacks and hackings in 2022. North Korea is assessed to have the world's fifth largest cyber attack capabilities. Pyongyang uses most of its income from cyber crimes to fund their illicit nuclear weapons and missile programs. North Korea keeps flouting UN sanctions, keeps defying UN Security Council resolutions by constantly engaging in WMD programs, which are financially supported by cyber theft and hackings. Dear guests, now let me turn into the impact of emerging disruptive technology on democracy. As I said earlier, cyber crimes and attacks undermine our core values, democracy and freedom. The exponential growth of the AI and the digital technologies unlocking unprecedented opportunities for growth and prosperity, but at the same time, it presents formidable challenges that require strategic responses together. The prospect of AI's militarization, the perils of widespread surveillance, and the disruptive potential of deepfakes pose significant threats. AI-driven social media platforms have become conduits for hate speech, misinformation, and the conspiracy theories. We have witnessed already public opinion in some of the Western countries being swayed by cyber propaganda and disinformations. This year, roughly 4 billion people in over 70 countries, they will go to the polls. Concern is growing that the democratic process of casting their ballots will be skewed or manipulated by illegal cyber activities. Until yesterday, this week, on Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, we, Seoul, hosted the third Summit for Democracies, and one of the main discussion topics were technology, elections, and fake news. Our Foreign Minister, Cho Tae-yeol, and his counterpart, U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, they again awakened us up to the real dangers of cyber attacks and interventions in the democratic process. What I want to underline here is that manipulating public opinions using narrative telling ability of AI algorithms, such as chatbots or large-scale information dissemination algorithms, such as the bot armies, is a very subversive act undermining political legitimacy. In recognition of this threat, countries begin to move faster to establish a sort of benchmark to regulate the development and use of AI. Last week, the European Union, the European Parliament approved an AI Act, the world's first comprehensive law to regulate AI technology. The US introduced also a standard by issuing presidential executive order in October 2023. So these regulations established obligations for AI based on its potential risk and level of impact and aim to enhance transparency. Republic Korea, we are also working on the establishment of the standard. Ladies and gentlemen, under these changing circumstances, what shall we do? Paradoxically, in order to respond to the poly crisis, complex geopolitics, and the technological competition, traditional approach of establishing a rule-based system is still valid and still effective, I think. First, we have to forge a coalition of friends, partners, and allies who share the same values. The President of the Republic of Korea, our President, Yoon Suk-yeol, has put forward an alliance of values many times during his speech, high-level speeches. In a situation where emerging disruptive technologies are directly threatening fundamental values, whereas the prospect of establishing common norms is elusive at this moment, this alliance of values constitutes one of the keys for opening up new paths. Korea is also very actively cooperating with its partners, including NATO, the European Union, and Romania, to respond to emerging disruptive technologies. At the NATO summit in Vilnius last year, Korea and NATO signed the individually tailored partnership program, which took the existing security cooperation with NATO to the next level, including cyber security issues as well. Korea is a strategic partner of the European Union and the first country to sign the 3 basic agreements, including the framework agreement on participation in crisis management in 2014, has very closely held consultations with the European Union in coordinating security policies, including cyber and crisis management and counterterrorism and resilience as well. At last year's Korea-EU summit, the 2 parties agreed to strengthen digital partnership in semiconductors, next generation mobile communications, quantum computers, AI, and digital platform regulation. In addition, Korea and Romania, as mutually trustworthy strategic partners, are expanding the basis for cooperation in responding to emerging disruptive technologies. Korea became the first Asian country to join this cooperative cyber defense center of excellence. Given all the multifaceted nature of emerging security threats, mobilizing the expertise and capabilities of all relevant actors, including government, private sector, international and regional organizations, and academia is very critical. The Republic of Korea has enough capabilities and willingness to facilitate this joint endeavor, as Korea is ranked 6th in terms of global AI index. Actually, we are the 3rd country with most AI-related patents, following the United States and China. In this context, we launched World Emerging Security Forum in 2021 to deal with many issues I raised. And this year also, we will host a second the World Emerging Security Forum in Seoul. And also, we will organize this year the Summit on Responsible Artificial Intelligence in the Military Domain in Seoul, together with the Netherlands. So in order to respond to these new emerging threats, enhanced solidarity and cooperation between partners who share the same fundamental values is almost important. The cooperative approaches and inclusiveness, I think, with major stakeholders will be key to success. As one of pivotal high-tech countries, the Republic of Korea is determined to fully cooperate with our allies and with our strategic partners who share the core values and security interests. We are ready to work closely with our partners to lead the way in establishing the most effective norms and governance system. Thank you so much. Mulțumesc.